So we are continuing on with Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj's book, I Am That. We're on chapter 30, which is You Are Free Now, all caps, now. I love the encouragement of that because it's true. And even if you don't realize it, it's helpful to sit and know that. I'm convinced that this is the shortcut of bhakti. It's that you don't have to do all of the purification work in order to allow for these things. You can short circuit it through faith in your ishta, through faith in your beloved. That through faith in that grace of your beloved, you can cut through all of the necessities. That love is more effective at bringing the mind to a single point than knowledge is. That with love it's faster, with devotion it's faster, because the path and the goal on the bhakti path are the same, right? The practice of love for the attainment of prema, pure love. And so we're in the last chapter was about how living is the point of life. And that's really just learning how to enjoy this world without getting stuck in it, without getting caught in your little proclivities and your eddies of thought, but to remain free. And they started this chapter talking about the different theories of what the world is. And Maharaj really didn't like that. He said, all of those are just ways of putting words together, stacking thoughts. We talk about thought castles in the mind, that sometimes we get impressed by the philosophy. We enjoy the study of the systems of thinking, and it becomes a form of pleasure in that way. But the answers are not there. The answers will not be found in the mind, in stacks of thinking or castles of thought. It doesn't happen there. It happens in the stillness of mind when the attention is on itself. We find that freedom. And so he said something very important last week. He said that all of these different theories and paths and philosophies, they're just different ways of putting words together. He says the important thing it is your earnestness. He actually makes the statement, it is the earnestness that liberates and not the theory, right? So the theories are merely avenues. They're merely scaffolding for reaching the roof. So all of the religions are just as many sets of scaffolding for touching the divine reality. They are not the thing itself, and so they are not the thing to be valued and attached to, right? So we just use our spirituality, our religions, our philosophies, our practices. All of those things will fall away ultimately when we realize God, when we come to know this truth. And so this earnestness, this is what's necessary for us. So it's not the religion that you choose that's going to bring you to freedom. It's your own inner condition. Are you earnest and sincere about your search, about your desire to know? And if you are, that earnestness will take you forward. And he goes on today, starting with our first statement. The questioner says that theory may be misleading and earnestness might be blind, right? So what do you mean by this earnestness? And says, or Maharaj says, your sincerity will guide you, right? How sincere you are is going to guide you forward. So it doesn't matter whether the theory may be misleading, and it doesn't matter whether your earnestness is blind. He said your sincerity is going to take you forward, because we are not the ones that are doing this. For us, at worst, it's a two-person endeavor. God on one side pulling us in with a rope, and us on this side making sure that we got that loop around our waist so that we can get towed in. And so we aren't depending on everything just in ourselves. right? We're depending on that grace. We're depending on that the divine nature of the universe, whether you want to personify it or not. Um, that the struggle is going to be the same, regardless of whether it's the path of jnana or the path of bhakti, of love. So he says, your sincerity will guide you. Devotion to the goal of freedom and perfection will make you abandon all theories and systems and live by wisdom, intelligence, and active love. Theories may be good as starting points, but they must be abandoned. The sooner, the better. Right? So God is not meant to, religion, God, I really like the idea that religion is redundant, that there's no need for the word, because life is this quest. Regardless of whether you use it for it or not, you're still going to be learning and moving forward on your quest for reality, for your understanding of reality. You can't help it. If you're here, if you're on in a body and living in this world, you're on a path. Mother has got you on the way. That can be that can be very unobvious or very obvious to you, depending on how you are discerning, how you are paying attention or not. So devotion to the goal of freedom and perfection will make you abandon all theories and systems and live by wisdom. Right? We talked about that. The way to live by wisdom is living in silent contemplation, present in the moment, because your nature is that wisdom. That wisdom is also not a stack of philosophical or ethical thinking. That wisdom is part of your nature. It's spontaneously available to you in the moment for the quiet mind, right? And so we abandon all theories and systems and live by this wisdom, by this spontaneous knowing, when we are aware of the presence of God. The presence of God is the comb that keeps the tangles from forming in our moment, as it were. So it'll make you abandon all theories and systems, and you'll live by wisdom, by intelligence, and by active love. What he's saying here is what we've been talking about, manifesting or expressing that divine principle within, the principle of Chitananda, that a fulfilled life, an enlightened life, is guided by that principle alone, the divine principle, that's Satchitananda. So we've said several times in this class that if you want a fulfilling life, if you want a deep life, a meaningful life, then live according to this divine principle that has created you, this absolute, unchanging presence of love, wisdom, and being. It ties right in with what Vivekananda says. He says it's great to be born in a church, but it's a terrible mistake to die in one. Right? So, meaning that all of these means and methods, all of these scaffoldings and philosophies are meant to be left behind. They're not the thing we're going to drag forward. And so to not to use them and to love them and to be sincere in our using of them as we go forward, but not to cling in them and become egotistically attached to our philosophies, our religions, our structures, our practices. The questioner says, there's a yogi who says that for realization, the eightfold yoga is not necessary. He says that willpower alone will do. It is enough to concentrate on the goal with full confidence in the power of pure will to obtain effortlessly and quickly what others take decades to achieve. So Maharaj responds, concentration, full confidence, pure will, with such assets, no wonder one attains in no time, right? So of course that's true, but it's not quite realistic to expect a normal person or a member of the minions, I guess, like myself, to be able to have fully developed concentration, confidence, and a pure will. Those things are why we're practicing. We're practicing so that we become aware of what is. We're not practicing to attain something. We're just trying to clean up the mess so that we can see what color the floor is. in a way, right? So he says this yoga of will is all right for the mature seeker, for somebody who has that level of focus, that level of confidence, that level of faith, and that level of self-control, that ability to fully to bend, not bend the will, but to have a singular will in the mind, aligned with the will of the divine. He says this yoga of will is all right for the mature seeker who has shed all of his desires but one. After all, what is will but steadfast steadiness of heart and mind? Given such steadfastness, everything can be achieved. So yes, if you can sharpen your will so that your yeses are yes and your nos are nos, that's a mature willpower. And following the wisdom of the divine principle, with that willpower alone, you can realize God quickly, right? Because purification, cleaning your house is not an effort if you're up and doing it, all right? And you're well practiced at it. When cleaning the house is not really something you want to do, not something you're in the habit of doing, it's a big deal to start because you don't know what room to dig into first, right? Everything it's a daunting task, and so that's what he's pointing out here. He says what you say is absolutely true, but to get that bucket of tools is quite difficult. Is not an easy mastery. The questioner says, I feel the yogi did not mean mere steadfastness of purpose, resulting in ceaseless pursuit and application. He meant that with will fixed on the goal, no pursuit or application are needed. The mere fact of willing attracts its object. Maharaj, whatever name you give it, will or steady purpose or one-pointedness of mind, you come back to earnestness, sincerity, and honesty. That's a good trio to remember right there. Because this is very much in line, kind of as a good summary of all religions. Really, these are three of the most important aspects for you to develop in yourself. That if a person has these qualities, earnestness, sincerity, and honesty, that spiritual life moves very rapidly for such a person. When you are dead earnest, you bend every incident, every second of your life to your purpose. You do not waste time and energy on other things. You are totally dedicated. Call it will, call it love, call it plain honesty. We are complex beings at war within and without. We contradict ourselves all the time, undoing today the work of yesterday. No wonder we are stuck. A little of integrity would make a lot of difference. Right? So he's saying, this and all of this really, I keep finding myself in my own mind, even in these last few days, coming back to discernment, 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 discernment. And discernment is really awareness. It's observing and becoming aware of what you're up to, right? Because what is this all? If you can focus and be earnest, you're dedicating yourself, your existence, your life to its goal, finding out what it is, finding out who you are and what this all means. And without discernment, you can easily rattle away a day without doing anything in that direction. You can sit there and flip through YouTube, you can hang out at the grocery store, go get your coffee, run your errands, take your trip, pick your person up, drop your other person off, get your laundry, and go on. One thing leads to the other, and there's no end to those things in this world. But where is your earnestness about your goal, about your point, the purpose of your life? That's a hard question to face every day for us. At the end of the day, Ramakrishna used to always give an account to himself of that day. How did his practice go? Was he faithful in it? Is he closer to the divine than in the morning? Has he realized God? And he used to pound his face into the dirt, just mourning the fact, oh, mother, another day has passed, and I still have not seen you. Don't let this life be vain. Don't let this life be empty. Don't let it be just a summation of errands and tasks and interests and entertainments and distractions. Let this life be a fulfillment of my own nature, a fulfillment and realization of absolute freedom within this, to live that kind of life. And so we take these practices, we try to be sincere and earnest and watch our life, guard our life, guard our heart from the things that are causing it to hate, causing it to dislike, guard our heart against arrogance, against the egoism that falls into it, and guard it from its distractions, right? To really sit down when we've got our free time. You're earnest about the things that you do in your free time. So a lot of us are very earnest about solitaire and and browsing Facebook, but how earnest are we in browsing our own heart, in doing our practices, and using our extra time during the day to sit and meditate? What a crazy idea. Oh gosh, I finished the dishes early and I don't have to start scrubbing the floor until 2:30. I've got 45 minutes. I'm going to go sit. That's earnestness. When you choose to do the things that are helpful to you in your spiritual practice, you're being earnest. And that's what moves us forward quickly. Earnestness, sincerity, and honesty. Questioner, well, what is more powerful, desire or destiny? Maharaj says, well, desire is what shapes destiny, right? You create your destiny by what you desire in this moment, because what you desire, as you fulfill your desire in this moment or move toward desiring your fulfilling your desire, that is creating your karma. Right? That's creating your path. It's taking you where you're going to go. So desire shapes your destiny. Questioner, and destiny shapes desire. My desires are conditioned by heredity and circumstance, by opportunities and accidents, by what we call destiny. Maharaj doesn't even touch this one. He says, oh yes, you may say so. Like, I'm not going to get into that with you, because that's not necessarily true. It can be true that we're shaped by desires that are conditioned by hereditary and circumstance, but what does that mean? That means you're a victim. That means you can't move forward, right? By opportunities and accidents, by all these things, destiny. So you're surrendering to your destiny. That's not going to work unless you have destiny very closely associated with the divine presence, right? So Maharaj, he says, yes, you may say so, or it's like, which really is a holy man's way of saying, if you believe that, yes, that's true for you, but it's not an inherent truth. It's like, yes, you may say so. It's like, yeah, sure, you can look at your life that way, but it's not really going to be helpful, and it's not really the truth of it. So I'm going to mute everyone here real quick.
I'm sorry, Swami.
No worries. Nobody knew it was you until now. So this desire, this clearing out our mind and going forward. So desire shapes destiny, and then he wants to make that point: destiny shapes desire. No, not really. The questioner, at what point am I free to desire what I want to desire? And the Maharaj, of course, says, you're free now. What is it that you want to desire? Desire it. There's nothing there. One thing you can really learn from some of this guy's questions is the crazy little situations that the mental knots, the mental gymnastics that we sometimes perform on ourselves and our confusions, right? It happens a lot of times when you're overthinking things, when you're thinking for thinking's sake, or you're philosophizing for philosophy's sake, but you're not really grounding yourself in the moment, in a relationship with the moment, which is your relationship with now, with God, with Mother, and understanding that, yes, this Maya that is deluding us is the Divine Mother, and that only by making friends with it, not abusing it, not pushing against it, but learning from it and walking with it with an understanding that its nature is also love. Through that kind of discernment, then we start getting led. We start getting led by the divine reality, by the ultimate reality. Well, the questioner responds, well, he says, of course I'm free to desire, but I am not free to act on my desire. Other urges will lead me astray. My desire is not strong enough, even if it has my approval. Other desires which I disapprove of are stronger. Well, he's being very honest here. That we don't always want what's right and what's helpful to ourselves. Right? A lot of times it's that fifth piece of chocolate cake that's calling us, and we know it's not good for us, but that desire somehow is stronger than our desire to be good to ourselves. And that's confusion. That's a call to discernment right there, because it's not natural for us to desire things that are harmful to us. So it's through a contortion of wrong action and wrong thinking that we get stuck in those strange places. And it's only presence and awareness with discernment that undo those knots. Right? Just sitting in the presence. So Maharaj says, well, maybe you're deceiving yourself, right? That's the confusion. Maybe you're deceiving yourself. Maybe you're not being honest with yourself. Maybe you are giving expression to your real desires, and the ones you approve of are kept on the surface for the sake of respectability. Ouch. That's a really good point. Why are you spiritual? Maybe you're not being honest with yourself. Maybe it is not really a love of the divine or a desire for freedom. Maybe it is just a quelling of fear or a social engagement, to stay true to your upbringing or to your parents, or to save face amongst your friends or your community. This is the thing. We have to go inside. We have to face boldly with courage our current condition of mind, right? Our current understanding of things. We have to go in and see it clearly. And then, through, again, discernment, things that are not helpful will drop off, right? With discernment. Of course, you have to follow that discernment with renunciation, which is an interesting thing. A lot of the things that we're stuck with don't fall off with discernment, but you reduce your attachment significantly through discernment, and then your renunciation can be effective. So discernment prepares you for renunciation, right? But you're going to have to develop a strong renunciation. You're either going to have a strong renunciation and a weak discernment, or a strong discernment and a weak renunciation in order to be effective. But one of those combinations has to be there. But Vivekananda makes it very clear, and Holy Mother chimes right in there with him. This, and just like the man's point earlier, that if you have that willpower, you can have your realization this moment. There's no one requiring you to wait. But you have to be willing to make that one grand renunciation. Anything that is unreal, you have no interest in. Of course, that leads you to a cave in the mountains. And so you might want to just dedicate yourself to discernment and to being earnest in your practice. Questioner, it may be as you say, but this is another theory. The fact is that I do not feel free to desire what I think I should. And when I seem to desire rightly, I do not act accordingly. Maharaj, it is all due to weakness of the mind and a disintegration of the brain, right? You've compromised so much that things don't stay in their tracks. You've given yourself so much permission in your life that now you are subject to your sensations. You're no longer in charge of your mind. And so Your bad habits have washed the river out of its bed, right? And now it's all over the floodplain. So it's due to the weakness of the mind and disintegration of the brain. This disintegration, this is when we've allowed our desires through our attachment to them to literally take on a sentience and an existence of their own, to where they're able to argue and manipulate us, and we have made ourselves subject to them. We no longer are the one driving the chariot. The horses have gone wild now. The senses have gone wild. And what they bring up before our eyes is what we do, right? We're not living according to the divine principle within. We're living according to the senses of the horses on the chariot. And they're running wild, running after the things that they desire. And because we've done so much of that, and we've given ourselves permission to do that, we're now helpless to stand against the suggestion, right? And this is a very difficult place to be in life, because it really breaks us down, right? Because just like this man is saying, we love God, we love our mother, we want to be in the presence, and yet we also love all of these things of bhoga, enjoyment, that distract us from the presence. And we've practiced them so much and have made them such a part of our life that we've created refuges out of some of our desires, places that we go to feel ourself, to feel centered, or to regain our balance. It's like we want that. We can't do without our evening drink. We can't do without our friend's party on the weekend. Now we've gotten in such a habit. And these are times when we see this in ourselves. It's a real call to step up your game, to really turn on that renunciation, make some more time for practice, and make sure the time that you have set for your practice is good quality time, that it's not rote practice, it's not shallow practice, but it's sincere, honest, and earnest. So it's all due to the weakness of mind and the disintegration of the brain. Collect and strengthen your mind, right? Understand that you are the only voice in there. There's no one else in you. There's no one in you trying to get you to drink. There's no one in you trying to get you to do anything. You alone are in there. Anything else that you've got running in your mind is an attachment, a nurtured attachment. And the more real it seems, the more you're able to bring it into conversation with yourself, the more in danger you are by that. You've really let go of a lot of your power and have shared it with that desire, have given that desire that permission to run that desire, to run that power. So he says, collect and strengthen your mind. Collect all those different disparaging voices in there. Take a look at them. Start one, pushing the knowledge that I'm the only voice in here. I run this show. This mind is my mind. I will, my yes will be yes and my no will be no. And if anything argues, I'll collect it and bring it into line. No, you are part of this one whole. This is dealing with the problem of disintegrating mind. Disintegrating mind means you get multiple voices running in there through multiple attachments. That's the mind that has disintegrated. It's no longer one. There's no longer one voice, one pointed thinking. There's no longer one person in charge. There's now all these phantoms in charge because of your attachments. You're sharing your Satchitananda, literally. You're sharing your own power of Satchitananda with your desires. You've created sentient thoughts, as it were, which is a crazy thing, but a true thing. And so we want to bring this mind back into unity. So he says, collect and strengthen your mind, and you will find that your thoughts and feelings, words and actions will align themselves in the direction of your will. Yes. So this collecting and strengthening your mind is, again, done through discernment, done through meditation, done by just constantly bringing it back and putting it on the track again and again and again and again, and being careful, because putting it back on the track isn't really the tough part. What the tough part is when we put it back on track, we want to feel guilty for it having gone off track, right? Or we want to get it on track, but we're identifying with it off track. We think that, oh, I'm a lousy meditator. And so we bring it back on track, but we have this idea I'm a lousy meditator, and that just keeps that track from being effective, because we've got these stories and these narratives. Don't pay attention to them. Be in the moment, and just like Brother Lawrence in his practice of the presence, be in the moment. If that divine principle is not expressing, then bring yourself into alignment with it. That's all there is. And the moment is always singular, and it's always here with you, and it's always a matter of your will. Right? So take this moment and be in charge. Be awake, be aware, be alert, be discerning. Don't let your mind get away with a single thought without you knowing what it's up to. Don't let the senses take the steering wheel at any point. You stay in charge. You keep that singular voice, that singular captain driving the ship, driving the chariot. Subdue those forces of the senses. Make them do where you go. Make them take you where you want to go, not where they are being drawn to. So collect and strengthen your mind, and you will find your thoughts and feelings, words and actions will align themselves. You see, will align themselves in the direction of your will. So if you collect these things, you silence these voices, bring it into alignment in that awareness, things will find their harmony. They will align themselves, because it's what you are. Right? It's not an imposition, it's what you are. The questioner, again, a counsel of perfection. To integrate and strengthen the mind is not an easy task. How does one begin? Maharaj, well, you can only start from where you are. Right? What he's saying here is a beautiful thing, because a lot of times when we look at our troubles, we look at a lifetime of troubles. Troubles are never a lifetime of troubles. Troubles are always in the moment, and they're always one at a time. You don't have to make a statement, oh, I can't eat chocolate cake for the rest of my life. No, if you think like that, you're going to be overwhelmed constantly. Who can manage to think about things for the rest of their life? Be in the moment. You don't have to say no to cake for the rest of your life. You just have to say no to cake right now. Right? That's all. Just say no right now. In this moment, you don't have to meditate for an hour every day of your life. Just meditate for an hour right now. It's like that. This moment is yours. This moment is all you have to worry about. You don't have to make big plans. You don't have to think about big accomplishments. You don't have to map out huge ideals. You just have to be here and be aware right now, and do what is best. Do what is right. Do what is expressing through your very self, your Satchitananda. That's all he's saying. You can start only from where you are. You are here and now. You cannot get out of here. You can't get out of now. So this is where you start, right now. And with what is in your circumstance, and with what is in your mind, and with what is the condition of your body. This is where you start. So stay aware of the moment, and then you're just there. You're there. You're in the present, and Mother will become more and more obvious. The divine reality will become clearer and clearer. The inspiration of your nature will become cleaner and cleaner, more and more discernible. You'll hear it and you'll feel it. And then you'll start becoming aware of a presence that the noise of your mind has kept you unaware of. And you start feeling the love inside, because you're not distracted by your disjointed and conflicting emotions anymore. You become aware of a silent hum, a song that's been playing in the heart forever. That has guided your life, but you've misunderstood it by mixing senses with it. and getting all confused. But what can I do here and now? Well, you can be aware of your being. Just bring it down to that. Just be aware that you are. This is one of the most surprising mysteries to me because, Satchitananda, I always love to talk about intelligence or wisdom, and I always love to talk about love. But I never really knew how to talk about existence. That always seemed like just sort of a throwaway one. Yeah, well, existence. Okay, there it is. But I found that through the pondering of existence, I have touched some of the greatest wells of bliss that I found inside. Existence is indescribable. When you try and ask and search out, what is it? What is it to exist? And you focus on your existence, bliss starts creeping in from every direction. It really is a wonderful thing to sit and ponder your existence and to know that what you're aware of is the divine, and what is aware is also the divine. And the more that starts becoming clearer and clearer just by paying attention. You don't have to learn this. You just have to see it. Stop being distracted. That's the trouble. When you sit down in this moment to start a practice, to start doing something, see, it won't be 3 to 5 seconds before something is trying to pull you off that track, right? It's just that bad. Just stay present. And when it goes off the track, no worries. Just bring it back. No worries. Just bring it back. And don't forget to bring it back. See, that's the trouble. You'll forget just once to bring it back, and 5 minutes will pass, and you will have gone 10 tracks over in 5 minutes, and now you've got to climb back. So you can be aware of your being here and now. Questioner, that's all? Maharaj, that's all. There is nothing more to it. So there you are. See how simple that is. This is why it's not about thought castles and understanding philosophies. It's much, much simpler than that. Be aware of your divine nature, and don't stop. Just keep bringing your mind back to the thoughts and enjoyments and world of now and here. Questioner, all my waking and my dreaming, I am conscious of myself. It does not help me much. Maharaj, you were aware of thinking, feeling, doing. You were not aware of your being. Right? So the eyes are going the wrong direction. If the eyes are going out, you're aware of your thinking, your feeling, and your doing, right? Because it's all looking through the mind. But when we're inward, we're not looking through the mind. Our isness is not what we're doing. Our isness is not what's the functions. The isness is the isness. It's just simply being without needing to be distracted from it. To know, it's the knowing. Think for a moment that parable about the eggplant seller, right? The master wants to sell a diamond and tells his student, take this to the eggplant seller and see how many eggplants he'll give you for this diamond, right? And then he came, and the eggplant was going to give him this many, and he says, well, now take it over to this other vendor, the cloth vendor, and see how much cloth he'll give you for the diamond. Oh, okay. And now take it to a gemologist, take it to the jeweler and see. And of course, the jeweler gives the most. Now, why do I bring that story up now? Because Mother dumped it in my mind just now when I was sitting here thinking, what is it that distracts us? What distracts us is because for the moment, we are the eggplant seller. And we don't value the moment. We don't value the silence. We don't value the inner presence. So we're not willing to pay that much for it. We're not willing to keep our mind nailed to that place. No, we go and get distracted by all the other things. And so we have to first learn the value of the treasure that is within you. Learn it's way better than any of the drugs available out there. that it's way better than any of the psychologies and whatnot out there. That this refuge, the refuge, is worthy of being the refuge. It will fulfill you more than any of your desires ever have. But you have to believe it's worth that. You have to believe. You have to know. You have to have a faith initially that the value of this thing that you are within really is worth more than all of your eggplants and all of your clothing and all of your houses and all of your cars and all of your friends and all of your relations, that this is really of that value. And then go get it, right? But don't sit there doing your practice thinking, oh God, if I could just watch Tom and Jerry right now. And these things, let these things pull you out, let these things distract you. Know the value of what it is that we have, that we are, and find it. So Maharaj says, your trouble is that you were aware of thinking, feeling, and doing, but you weren't aware of your being. The questioner says, well, what is the new factor that you want me to bring in? Maharaj, the attitude of pure witnessing, of watching the events without taking part in them. Okay? That's a very important teaching right there. It's a very clear teaching. So being aware of the moment, pure witnessing, means to see everything without taking part in it. Understand that that is not you. Understand that it doesn't affect you. It can't touch you. That you are beyond all of those things. So this is the attitude of pure witnessing, of being now, being here now. The attitude of pure witnessing, of watching the events without taking part in them. Right? You sit there and enjoy your tea party with the divine principle, with the reality, with God if you want, with Mother if you want. Pull in any of these wonderful realizations. And then my questioner says, well, what will it do to me? Maharaj, weak-mindedness is due to a lack of intelligence, a lack of understanding, which again is the result of non-awareness, right? That's how we get led away, by not staying present, not staying aware. We start connecting from one thought and we get lost in the gymnasium of thought. And that gymnasium of thought is susceptible only to the senses, right? And so as the senses bring in more sensations, the mind gets interested. Ooh, that one. Oh, look at that one. Oh, let's put these two together. Oh, cool. Look over there, right? And we're pulled out of our center. We forget Satchitananda. We move out of the moment and start planning to get something in the future, or we start pining for something in the past. And we're deluded again. We're no longer present. So the questioner says, well, he says, weak-mindedness is Maharaj. Weak-mindedness is due to lack of intelligence, of understanding, which again is the result of non-awareness. By striving for awareness, you bring your mind together and you strengthen it. Right? Yes, because we're aware of what? Well, the divinity, the moment. Well, what is the moment? The moment is the divine reality. The moment is self-correcting. The moment contains all of the scriptures, all of the teachings in it. It contains the presence of all of the avatars. It contains the presence of all life. It is the divine isness. So by striving for this awareness, you bring your mind together and you'll strengthen it, because there won't be all those voices pulling in different ways. You wouldn't have given sentience to your attachments. And so the questioner responds by saying, well, I may be fully aware of what is going on and yet quite unable to influence it in any way. Maharaj, you are mistaken, right? So you cannot be fully aware and yet quite unable to influence it. He says, no, you're mistaken. What is going on is a projection of your mind. A weak mind cannot control its own projections. Be aware, therefore, of your mind and its projections. You cannot control what you do not know. On the other hand, knowledge gives power. In practice, it is very simple. To control yourself, know yourself. Wow. this is worthy of some thought right here. What is going on is a projection of your mind, right? So what is the projections of your mind? It's kind of the sum total of your karmas, really. The things that have happened to you that lead you to believe in a certain way. Oh, my life is this way. Oh, my character is that way. Oh, my weaknesses are these things. These are your projections. When you take anything, when you attach to anything except the three things, right? It's funny how we loop back to these things again and again. The only three things that you can say are true about yourself: I'm intelligent, I exist, I'm loving. Those are the only three things that are true about you. When you take on all of these other objects or other ideas, adjectives, those are projections. I'm angry. Uh, I'm useless. I'm gay. I'm straight. I'm American. I'm Indian. If we take any other adjective except the three that belong to Satchitananda, if we attach any of those to our sense of I, that's a projection. And that's going to create a world. That's going to create a perspective of a world, right? People don't like me. I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I'm an independent. All these create projections, and they stop you from seeing things as they are. So a weak mind cannot control these things, right? Because of bad habits, because it's not accustomed to being aware. It's not even accustomed of what it's thinking or aware of what it's thinking. It's just going on. So he says, what's going on is a projection of your mind. A weak mind cannot control these projections. Be aware, which means stop it all and come back to the moment. Stop with any idea of what this moment is or where it's going or what's happened or what's brought it here. Forget, let go, all of that. Bring it back to the moment. Be aware of being, right? Be aware, therefore, of your mind and its projections. Just see what it's projecting. Feel what it's projecting. You cannot control what you do not know. He's saying, the things you do not know are the things you're not paying attention to. So until you bring your knowledge to your inner world, until you go and bring some light in there, right? We've talked about this. Until you know what body is in here, until you know what mind is in here, you cannot know what the self is in here until that's sorted out. And that can only be done by a constant observance, because you've come up with so many false ideas, so many stories and narratives that just frankly are lines in the air. They're meaningless. So to control yourself, know yourself, which means know that the self does not need lust. Know yourself. Know that you are fulfilled in and of yourself. That the self does not need material, does not need more, does not need anything. So know yourself. Satchitananda, that's what it is to know that, and act from that place of Satchitananda. And that's all it takes. Stop acting from a place of the body, right? Body leads you to sex, leads you to hunger, leads you to addictions, to drugs, to pleasures. Sort that out. Know who you are in there. I'm not the body. I'm Satchitananda, so I'm not going to search for things of the body. I'm going to search for things of me. I'm going to fulfill love. I'm going to fulfill intelligence. I'm going to fulfill my being. And it's not going to be through what the body dictates. And it's not going to be through what the mind dictates. It's not going to be about happiness, about moods, and all those things. It's not going to be about that either. I'm going to be about myself, Satchitananda, love, wisdom, and being. To control yourself, know yourself. The questioner, maybe I can come to control myself, but shall I be able to deal with the chaos in the world? You see, this guy's great because he's doing it all for us, just showing us exactly what our troubles are inside. We're always jumping from one thing to the next. Okay, well, maybe I can control myself, but then what about the chaos of the world out there? It's like, dude, obviously you can't do anything about that, but that's not your problem. Stop being distracted by it. Get back to what you can do, right? Don't be distracted by things that are beyond your reach, the things you can't control. Don't do them. How do I deal with this chaos in the world? Maharaj, there is no chaos in the world except the chaos which your mind creates. It is self created in the sense that at its very center, it is the false idea of oneself as a thing, different and separate from other things. In reality, you are not a thing. You are not separate. You are the infinite potentiality, the inexhaustible possibility. Because you are, all can be. The universe is but a partial manifestation of your limitless capacity to become. That's a beautiful place. So we'll stop there for this morning.